So for a few weeks now, we have been doing a video series where I collect a couple of questions from you guys, more generic, I hate using the word generic, but some more generic, non-situational questions. A couple of questions that I've seen the guild members in my guild ask, some things I've seen on Reddit, and I answer them for you guys. I like doing this series, and I'll continue to repeat that I love doing this series because I get a feel for what you guys are interested in. I get to directly interact with some of you guys, and I get some really fun questions to answer. And one of the folks that has been presumably subscribed to my channel and has been sending a lot of questions my way is a viewer by the name of Hannah Edgen. And she has sent me a whole hell of a lot of questions. And she made a quite large comment on my video last week about the questions. And she said, hey, essentially, here's some more questions for you. What I want to do for you guys, because I like a lot of the questions and I like some of the information in here, I want to go ahead and answer the questions for you guys, and who knows? We'll see what happens. Now, as a reminder, if you guys want to reach out and ask questions, because when you guys do, some of y'all will say, I've gotten emails or whatever that says, I don't want to bother you. No, dude, do it. Bother the shit out of me. I love answering these questions. I want to make this type of video right here, this series, a very consistent thing on the channel. I love answering these questions for you guys. So continue to throw them my way. Now, with that being said, I'm going to run through the comment that she posted. It's lengthy. It's not too terrible, but it's lengthy. There's a lot of information in it. There's a lot of questions in it. So let's go ahead and get started. So in regards to last week's video, she says, fantastic video once again. Thank you. Today you get to be my counselor. Now that's weird, but very gratifying. To think that me as a stranger on the internet have helped you, a stranger on the internet, with something, or potentially could. And that's what this channel is all about, guys. So she continues, she says, this video, and this is the one from last week, came at such an ironically convenient time for me. If you guys hear the dogs going crazy, they're going nuts. They are romping and carrying on in the bedroom. So this video came at such an ironically convenient time for me. I recently, like 2 weeks ago, so it would be about 3 weeks right now, hit some sort of big red button in my brain with this game. The burnout just came on like a tidal wave. It was sudden and complete. I told my guild that I was stepping down and would not be raiding for the rest of the expansion. But they were bummed. They were disappointed, and it felt like shit. But what can you do? You got to do what you got to do. Am I right? Yes. So I'm going to pause here because there are a few things I want to talk about, and I don't want to miss them. Burnout, guys, I've talked about it before. Set goals for yourself, things that you want to do. But if you are sitting down, if you're plopping down in your computer chair, if you're plopping down, on whatever you're sitting on, and you go, let me go ahead and start playing WoW. Dude, take a break. A week, a month, a year, it doesn't matter. Take a break, because that burnout will kill you, and it'll ruin this game, where it's not, I'll come back in a week. It's, screw this game, I never want to come back. So yeah, if you need to do it, then do it. And I think that Hannah did a great job where she said, hey, guys, I got to take a break. And that's cool. Be open, be honest with your guild. Don't leave them in a situation that, for me personally, is so frustrating, where you log in and you check the guild news, or you're sitting there just chilling out watching Netflix, doing some dailies, and so-and-so's left the guild. You're like, what the fuck? Like, what happened? So no, let them know, hey, I need to take a break. I'm burnt out. I'm not having fun. If they're a good enough guild, then they may not, obviously they're going to drop you from the roster, but they're not going to kick you out. And they should, hopefully, unless you make this a big issue, they should open their arms and welcome you back, right? So, great job. I approve of all that. So, she said, after quitting World of Warcraft for now, I proceeded to start playing WoW. She said, I started playing on a vanilla private server many, many, many months ago, but stopped when my time started getting too tight between vanilla and Legion. So, since I stopped playing Legion, I decided to start vanilla on this private server again. Anywho, all of this bizarre rambling leads me to yet a new series of questions for you. Cool. I'm all for this. I love answering these questions. So, the questions that she has for me. Have I played vanilla? Have I played the original World of Warcraft, the base game? So there is a video if you want a little bit more detail for you or for Hannah, for anyone else that I did a couple of months ago, where I talked about why I play WoW. Short answer is I played vanilla WoW. The reason I play WoW now is because of my guild. I played a rogue during World of Warcraft, or vanilla WoW. I was in a guild. I don't know the name. I'm sure it was a stupid ass name. The guild leader was this Australian dude that would yell at everybody. However, he did bring me through Molten Core. I had no clue what I was doing. I was so confused. I think I was level 58 or 59 at the time in Molten Core. I wasn't good. Was not good. And shortly after that, we deployed, or we did some workups to deploy, and just didn't have time for it. So, yes, I played in vanilla WoW. I hated the game. I did not have fun. My friends in the 15th MU kept pushing me to play. Eventually, I started having fun, but yeah, not too great of an experience for me. She asks, do you think you'll play on the classic vanilla servers when Blizzard releases them? Short answer is I will certainly give it a chance. I will check it out. Will I devote a significant amount of time to this classic World of Warcraft? I don't know. I think the answer to a lot of my questions is going to be to this series of questions, because obviously I've read this already. I need more information on classic WoW, and I think a lot of people that potentially could play classic servers need more information, and I'll elaborate here in a second. So she asks, do you have any thoughts, feelings, ideas about what the experience will be like and what I want it to be like? And that's the problem. That's what I'm talking about here is, what is classic? Is it classic where if you want to tank, you're playing a warrior and only a warrior? So if you have a guardian druid or a prop paladin or a monk, hell, are monks even in the game? Are demon hunters in the game? Are death knights in the game? But if you want to tank, you're playing a warrior, baby. If you want to heal, or if you want to play a priest, rather, you're healing. You're not playing shadow. If you want to play a druid, cool, you're resto. You're not balance. You're not feral. You're resto. I guess it would still be feral, whether you're a bear or a cat. And that's, is it going to do that? Or is it going to try to balance it? Something like, if you look at Black Temple, Time Walking, or Ulduar Time Walking, where it is it's definitely not the same. It's kind of like Ulduar back then, but you have all these new abilities, and you a lot better job of knowing what's going on and all these extra tools and whatnot. I don't know. And I think that's the problem for a lot of players that are interested in classic WoW, is they don't know where it's going to be like. Is it going to be where there are bosses that are just simply unkillable, that you cannot kill them, and that that you need a strict comp, and you need this, that, and you can't play? Where are you at within the time frame of vanilla WoW? Are you where mages could or could not play frost or fire? Because they played fire for a while, and then, well, guess what? Molten Core, hey, there's a big fire dude that you're not doing shit to him, and you have to play frost. And, I don't know. And that's a big problem, is we don't know. So she continues to say, there have been many videos and many forum posts on the topic of changes to vanilla. Do you have any thoughts on this? If we just say generic things, I don't know of any specific one change to talk about. I think that what people are expecting and what they're going to get is not going to be the same thing. I think that there are a lot of players that want this balance where you can be a prop paladin and a shadow priest and a kitty druid, and it's cool. And then there's the other half that say, hell no, classic is classic. It's day one World of Warcraft, man. I don't know. I don't know. It's Blizzard has really painted themselves into a corner because of this game, because of what they have announced and what they've promised, and people are clamoring. They're chomping at the bit to get into this, but nobody knows what the hell they want. And I think a lot of players, I think that the player base is going to shrink for Vanilla WoW incredibly small. It's going to be a very small, tight-knit group because you're going to go, well, it costs so much money to change specs, and I really want to try that spec. And I can't tank unless I roll a warrior, but leveling is so boring, and et cetera, et cetera. Screw it. I'll just go play Battle for Azeroth, or whatever the expansion that's out during that time. I think that it should be interesting to get more information. She continues. She says a leveling series, and I had asked about if you guys had any interest in a Let's Play series. She says a leveling series would be cool. Nightborn all the way. The world has too many cows as it is. All right, we'll do it. You just got to pick a class. I have both of the allied races unlocked, so we're down to do either one of them. Just need a class. This channel was originally built on Let's Plays. Now, that was several years ago, so they might not be that great, but I think leveling something, especially with 735, maybe without heirlooms, maybe even without mods, no add-ons, nothing like that. I don't know. I have a couple of ideas floating around as far as that to give a true, I don't want to say vanilla, but a true new player feel-ish to it. So she continues, she says, with the goals, dreams, wishes of Mythic raiding, have you considered recruiting enough people to have 2 raid teams, 1 Mythic team and 1 normal heroic team? If you ever want help with recruiting or recruiting strategies, hit me up. I'm very, very bold, good at it. So there's a lot of stuff here that I want to talk about. With my goals, my dreams, my wishes of Mythic raiding, have I considered recruiting? So for those of you that haven't been watching these videos, my guild has mostly teetered towards heroic. Between the heroic and mythic raid difficulty. The reason for this is we get a whole bunch of people, and then somebody says, hey, my schedule just changed, so I can't raid anymore, or I can only raid one night. Well, shit, now we got to replace them. And then, stuff like, and it just keeps happening. People quit, people come, people go, etc. And we just haven't had a stable roster. Have I considered having a roster for mythic and one for heroic? Yes and no. I think if we're talking about having 2 rosters that concurrently raid, I think that would be a headache. That's asking for disaster. Have I thought about having a large raiding roster where I designate and I go, Hannah, you are a mythic raider and you're on my mythic team, but this other person is only heroic. Yes, that is something that we probably will do if we have the roster. We don't have it, and that's the problem. We had 22, 23 people last week. 4 of them now have different schedules for work. Can't raid anymore. One of them had to, I don't know, just the roster boss. So once we get that roster, yes, that's something that we'll probably do is designate and go, you're on our mythic team, you're on our normal team. Now, obviously, one thing to think about is if you have such a huge roster, you need to think about how many officers you have. And we need to be very careful, and people need to be very careful about how they operate. You don't want to say, okay, I'm the mythic raid leader. You're only the heroic. Hannah, you're only the heroic raid leader. So, I'm more senior to you, or I want one of your heroic raiders, so give it to. We got to be very careful about that to say, hey, our end result is to get mythic down. So if you are only doing heroic and we're benching you for mythic, either you need to get good, I hate that term, but you need to show that you want to do heroic or mythic rather, or you need to be cool with being benched. Now, as far as ideas or help with recruitment or recruiting strategies, bring it on. Show me what you got. Most definitely, I would say any guild leader, any raid leader, any officer, any leader in general, if somebody offers you help, don't throw that shit away, man. Yeah, absolutely. Show me what you could do. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe you're doing something way different. Um, if nothing else, we can chat about it on the channel. At least I'll ramble about it for a few minutes. Not that you ever would. She continues, more questions. Not that you ever would, but if you could recreate your guild from the ground up, would you ever consider having an all-military guild? What do you think might be the pros and cons of having such a guild? And then, yeah. So some inside stuff, military stuff here. So, when I was in the 15th MU, and I got back from my second deployment, but our deployment with the 15th MU, one of the guys that was in the 15th MU with me that had gone back maybe 1 or 2 months beforehand, the married guys, he had messaged me, he was emailing me, he was talking to me about this amazing guild that he was in, and how he loved it and all this stuff. We'll come to find out the guild leader, which was recruiting healers, which is how I got in on my priest, was a staff sergeant, I think, in the Air Force. And he ran his guild like it was in the military. We had a lot of military guys in there, both active duty and retired, and it was interesting. Now, I do want to hesitate for a second and say this was also the time period where it was very difficult to get into a raiding guild. And there are only a handful on each server. So you as a guild leader or an officer, and I hate to say this, but could be a dick. People would take it because it meant not getting loot, not getting a raid spot, not raiding if they didn't take the abuse. Totally 180 these days, where it's so easy to find a raiding guild. It's so easy to get gear. Interesting. But yeah, this guy was a staff sergeant in the Air Force, if I remember correctly. And the pros of this were you knew, one, where you stood. You could go up to him and go, look, I need to talk. Here's the deal. Am I fucking up or not? I don't like this. Let's handle it. The problem was some of us were active duty. And so hey, we're raiding on Thursday night. Well, no, you're not, because now you just got duty on Thursday night, or, barracks inspection, or, you're just stuck at work. You're stuck doing whatever for, until 8 o'clock at night. You get back to the barracks, you get back to your apartment, and you take your camis off, and you're just exhausted, and you go to sleep. That was a problem. There was also the issue of this guy being a staff sergeant. I think he was a mechanic. I could be totally making that part up. But crew chief, I don't know. That was a decade ago. I don't remember. Or dog remembers. But one of the problems was he was in charge of whatever they call it in the Air Force. He had guys that reported to him, and he was very stressed out. I think he was going through a divorce, and now you have a top tier, at least on a server, raiding guild that is, this guy's getting slammed all the time for possible, and I apologize, guys, the dogs are going crazy in the bedroom. But the guild leader is getting slammed every day at work, and then he comes home and he sits down, and he's still getting slammed by guys who are going, let me in your guild, I want to raid with you, and et cetera, et cetera. And what ended up happening is he disbanded. He and I had talked about it after the fact, and he said, hey, and this many years later, and he said, the pressure was just so much, I thought my head was going to explode. I thought I was going to kill myself. I thought that, I was going to die of a coronary, a heart attack, a blood vessel was just going to pop in my head, and I was going to instantly die, because it was nonstop 24/7 stress, and I hated it. So that was one of the cons. So, if I could recreate my guild, though, I would make a few changes. I think one of the big lessons that I've learned is that as a leader, I err on the side of leniency, which is nice. Kinda. It's nice to you, the guy that's fucking up, but it's frustrating to people in general. And I've gotten a lot better about it. It's been a huge lesson for me to learn. But I think that that's something that I would squash very quickly. Is getting rid of toxic players, not being so hesitant to get rid of toxicity, to get rid of the cancerous things in my guild. That's what I would do. Now, if the previous questions about vanilla held no interest to you, i.e. you had no opinion one way or the other, then what are your wishes and hopes for BFA? So, my hopes and wishes for BFA. Oh god, I'm so interested these days in the class changes. Because I think while there are a lot of good things about Legion, there's a lot of good things about the classes, the way things were designed, there are a lot of tweaks that need to be done. I think that a world after the artifact weapon system is going to be interesting. I am really interested to know what this Heart of Azeroth, or Heart of Azeroth, what does it do? What's the, I don't want to say the point behind it, but is it going to be a system, I think as Preach said in one of his videos here recently, where you as a raider, you as a PvPer, you as a guy that logs in and does some 5-mans and some dailies and stuff, can you truly customize this item so that it makes a huge difference between, you the mythic raider, me the guy that logs in and does quests, and this third guy that is only doing PvP? Or is it going to be a boring, this ability does 2% more damage? Cool. Like, are there going to be meaningful, honest choices? Or is it going to be this boring, extra numbers bullshit? And I'm hoping that there are choices. That's what I want. So what do you hope Blizzard will change? What about the things that they should keep? Things that they should change, clearly, this mindset that you need to grind needs to go away. That was one of the huge problems with the artifact weapon system that provoked such a hostile mindset from the player base, was you have to grind Maw Souls, and I think I talked about it 1,000 times, 1,200 times. Oh, wait, you're at 54 traits? Just kidding, we've added more. Now it's Concordance of the Legion Fall. Start over. Oh, you've added that? Well, now we got this Netherlight Crucible. Start over. And that was a frustration. I think if I had to put my finger on it, the artifact weapon system pre 7.2 sucked. Now it's very easy to catch up and get your concordance and get your traits and all that, and that's cool. But I think that was a major source of frustration. I think this idea that legendaries dropping from the sky, frustration, because it wasn't, I don't think anybody was mad that you were getting, I don't want to say that most of the players were not mad that you got a legendary and I didn't. They were mad because you got a legendary that was, it gave you, the best in slot this and all this damage, and I got one that if I don't move for a couple of seconds, I can then cast while moving for a couple of seconds. Cool. You're doing, so much more damage, and it's just a snowball effect of, oh, well, Hannah's got this, she's doing so much more damage because of a legendary, all other things being equal. Well, Chris isn't, so let's bench him. Let's get somebody else that has this legendary, or somebody that's doing, he's now a detriment to the rate, and that sucks. That hurts. That's really, it sucks. I want Blizzard to continue the content schedule for Legion that they had in Legion with BFA. Maybe slow it down like a week or two. But yeah, this constant stream of legit content is what I want to see. The Mythic Plus system, continue on it. Keep adding affixes. Keep going. I would also love to see, here's my $1 million idea. Maybe it's not mine. Everybody's had this idea. Do Mythic Plus old dungeons. Wailing Caverns. Plus 15 Wailing Caverns. Let's do it. Whatever. Let's see what we got. I think that would be neat. Is it finally time to get rid of or rework the LFD and LFR system? Maybe. That would be my answer. Maybe. I think that the LFR system, if we specifically talk about LFR, is a necessary evil. I want to see the story, and you want to be a Mythic Raider. Well, why can't I see the story? It's not affecting you at all. I think, ultimately, again, the complaint here isn't that LFD is easier and all this stuff. It's I think one of the big factors, I don't want to say that it's the sole factor, but one of the big factors is if I do, and I've seen this with some of my guildies, some of my guild members that have pushed themselves to go, I will run every single difficulty of, whatever instance for a chance to get a heroic Titan Forge, Warforged, this, that, and the other. That sucks. That's a shitty spot to be in, especially if you try to eke out 1% more damage, etc. It sucks. It's crappy. So I think if you made it very apparent that you, the player doing LFR, are not a raider, that you're here for the story, that this is the easiest of the easy mode, and this is not the same as the guy that's doing, putting together a heroic or a mythic guild run, 2, 3, 4 times a week. It's not the same. And I think that's also a huge sense of contention for the player base that don't do or that aren't primarily doing LFR. Now, LFD, again, it's a necessary evil. I remember sitting there spamming, looking for member, this, that, the other, and it sucked. How many people, even with the looking for group tool, doing a Mythic Plus, where even that, there's so little social interaction. And that's just, that is a necessary evil of the times. Servers used to have this identity, and you knew people on them. However, there weren't as many alts. It was harder to get alts, and there wasn't cross realms and all this stuff. LFD, you're going to have to sell me on. LFR, I think you could make it a lot better. You could make it a lot more either a training ground for raiders. Hey, I've never raided before. What should I do? Oh, we'll go into LFR. There was another thought that I saw on Reddit the other week where they said, hey, maybe devote some time to making LFR a single player scenario that either you can queue up and just simply, you have NPCs, kind of like what we've seen with, a couple of other, so there's quests, and I'm trying to think the, I don't want to say the challenge modes, but the medal system in Mists of Pandaria, where you go to the temple and do the challenge there. Something like that. Or as a legit, like it training you to be a raider. People go, I don't know how to raid. What do I do? How do I raid? How do I get into a guild and raid? We don't really have anything in guild to facilitate this. So let's see, let me catch back up. If so, how? I think we already talked about that. How would that work? What would replace it? If not, explain the benefits and positives of these systems. The benefits and positives, quite simply, are that it's convenient for a vast majority of players. It's easy to get into. It's low risk, mediocre reward. And the argument that people are going to make is, if you don't like it, don't queue up. But I think it could be improved. I think there are improvements that could be made. And then she leaves it off. All right, my man. My question well has once more ran dry. As always, I look forward to your next video. Awesome. Thank you. Keep the questions coming. If you guys have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to shoot them my way, and I will answer them as quickly as I can. Hopefully it doesn't take that long. But yeah, until next time, guys, I'll see you.